Hello and welcome back to the Pet Business Wellbeing podcast with me, Nathan Dunleavy. This is the podcast where we talk about the realities of running a pet business, the highs, the challenges, and most importantly, how to look after your well-being whilst you do it. Because running a business should support your life, not consume it. Samantha Wayland, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm a little bit chilly. The temperature's definitely dropped this last week, but apart from that, I'm all good.
Brilliant. So we have had some challenges, actually. We've had some tech challenges. Oh, my word. I don't know what it is. I say, give me people and dogs any day, but tech.
Yeah, I am not a tech person. Any of my clients that listen to this will be like, yeah, she's not.
I'm definitely not. And the podcast, and now my dogs again, but hey, that's life of a dog professional. We've had to move on to Zoom because the podcast recording software was just not having any of it. Maybe it's the cold.
Yes, I think it is. Nothing works in the cold. Bring back the heat.
Brilliant, Sam. For those that may not know you, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
So I'm Samantha Wayland and I run Samantha Wayland Dog Training. I know, original name. I'm a dog trainer that is based in Essex and I specialise in rescue dogs, in particular overseas rescue dogs, but any rescue dog that's struggling with their nervousness and anxiety and that side of things.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So today we're going to be talking about compassion fatigue in the rescue world. Now, I feel that compassion fatigue affects most pet professionals, if not all, but it seems to be particularly prevalent more so in the rescue world. So before we dive into the deeper layers of this topic today, for anyone that isn't familiar with the term compassion fatigue, especially in the rescue world, could you just share what it actually means and what it could look like for people working in rescue on a day-to-day basis, please?
Yeah, of course. So compassion fatigue is a complete emotional and physical exhaustion that you get from supporting other people over long periods, or other people and other dogs over long periods. So I think you're right. Anyone in the pet industry really suffers with it in the rescue world. It's a really big thing and it's not really spoken about enough.
No, it isn't. And I'm glad you wanted to talk about this because it's great to put a spotlight on it because, again, it's one of those words, a bit like imposter syndrome, which I'll come on to later. But yeah, compassion fatigue. Yeah, where all of a sudden you hear about it, but what's going on?
Yeah, there's very little support, I think, out there for the people that are supporting
Yeah.
the animals with trauma. So you take on all this trauma and you're surrounded by all the stories of dogs that don't make it, or horror stories of how dogs came into rescue. And you take on all this guilt and it's all consuming. It is all consuming. And like the rest of the dog world, the rescue world, there's a lot of ego in rescue as well, but there's a lot there's a lot of ego.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about rescue words, so I'm loving it and I love learning. So I wouldn't have thought that. I thought it would be people be quite grounded, actually.
No, it's not. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of, well, I've rescued this amount of dogs and we've done this and we've done that. And it's, oh my goodness, could we all just work together?
Yes.
Do the best that we can do? That would be great. There are people obviously in rescue who are like that, but there is another camp that are very egotistical, unfortunately. But I think you get that everywhere. That's everywhere. So yeah, there's very little support for the people who work out, especially the people on the front line that are out there, that are taking these dogs out of horrible situations. Obviously, I said at the start that I work a lot with overseas dogs.
Yeah.
And some of the places that they find their dogs, or the conditions that they find these dogs, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And it's very difficult to put your own personal boundaries in and not say yes to helping everything.
Right. Okay.
And that's where the fatigue comes in, because you're like, oh, I can't say I won't help this one, and I can't say that I won't foster this one, and I can't. And you feel nobody's telling you can't say no, but you feel like you can't say no because what if you don't? What will happen then? And yeah, it's really difficult.
So it's almost like you're like maybe a bit guilt tripped into saying yes, or
Yeah,
helping.
absolutely. And not guilt. And I don't mean that any of the rescue centres themselves
No.
are guilt tripping me. It's like your own emotional guilt
Yeah.
where you just think, oh, what if I don't help this dog, what will happen? And I've worked in rescue for about a decade now, and
Oh,
it's
really?
probably taken until the last year for me to go, I probably should put some boundaries in and maybe say no to
Yeah.
because I won't, even 6 months ago, I would have been, oh yeah, I'll fit you in here. Oh yeah, I can do this. Oh no, I'll speak to you here. And I'll try and just fit as many people in to talk to as many people as possible. And you burn out. You can't do it. It's impossible to keep going. So yeah, you have to learn to say no, but maybe I'll speak to you next week. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I did lose you a little bit then. It's those tech gremlins again, but
It's Friday and they've had enough.
yeah, so you were just, I think you're really, I'm getting like boundaries coming up into this, and that's another topic for another day, but boundaries is something that us pet professionals do struggle with. So I think I got from that, you've personally been putting in some personal boundaries in the last
Yeah,
6.
definitely. Although I will say at 10 o'clock last night, I was still talking to a new adopter. I was lying in bed. So,
Oh,
but the boundaries are getting there. They're getting there.
right.
I'm
Oh,
aware. But it's like I said, it's so hard to say no because you worry. Then you take on that worry of, if I don't tell this person everything and their new dog arrives tomorrow and then they don't do the new intros properly, or you worry about everything. So yeah, it is difficult to switch off.
so it sounds like you're really emotionally invested into these dogs, but then the adopters as well, and the charities and the rescues that you're helping.
Yeah, that's it. You take on, you feel responsible for that relationship, that if it doesn't work, you feel like you're partly responsible. And sometimes it is just that they're just not a good match. The dog in the home it's not the right environment, or it's not the right fit. But you still take on that guilt of, oh, where will that dog end up next? And it is a lot.
Mm.
But that's not something that we should be taking on. And you have to remind yourself that you can save a lot of dogs, help a lot of dogs. You cannot physically help every single dog as much
Mm.
as you want to.
Yeah. And you've fostered a lot of dogs as well, though, haven't you, over the years?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you must, because I think we had this chat a little while ago, but there must be something that you put in place to not say yes to adopting every dog, because
It,
you fostered so many.
a couple of the rescues that I worked with had a policy where their fosterers were not allowed to adopt dogs. So that
Oh,
was great because
okay.
you do fall in love with a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's obviously a lot of dogs that you foster and you're like, I love this dog. This dog is not the right fit for my home. My dogs are all quite laid back. Yes, they love their walks and they love all their enrichment, but they're quite laid back dogs. If we were to take on, say, a Mallee or a border collie, it'd be awful. I'm not a Mallee or a border collie owner, and I don't have that. I've got kids. I've got too much to do.
High energy, aren't they?
Yeah, I just don't have the space. So when you would foster those ones, you love them, but you're so looking forward to them going to the right home for them, so that you can go, oh, phew, okay,
Mhm.
it's take a breather. So it's hard. You've got some, like my most recent foster, most beautiful dog, Pip, gorgeous dog, but he was a puppy, very energetic. We're not really used to puppies. We foster a lot of older dogs.
Oh, that's nice.
So having a puppy with all this boundless energy and everything else, and we were just like, oh my goodness, what is this?
Mhm.
We were like new parents. But we found obviously an amazing home, and it is then when you get the updates from the new homes, it's brilliant.
That's nice. So you said that you've been working with rescues for more than a decade. In terms of the work you do then, what are you supporting certain rescues abroad then? What is it you're helping them with, if you don't mind me asking?
So I started off as a fosterer years and years ago, and then I've done everything in between. At the minute, I work with a couple of rescues from Cyprus,
Yes,
and I've been out there. I
I
work
was
with
going
them.
to bring that up.
Yeah, I love them. We're really good friends now. They're brilliant,
Yeah.
and they're on the news and everything all the time over in Cyprus, where they're campaigning for animal rights and things. So their ethics and everything really align with mine, which is why we connected so well. So I now do pre-arrival sessions for the dogs that are coming
Oh,
over
oh, good.
to get those adopters, lower the expectations down and get those adopters ready for what's going to come, and almost get them prepared for worst case scenario, so that then if it doesn't happen, it's amazing. And then I have another session with them a week or so afterwards. And then after that, if they want to continue working with me, they can do a discounted rate. And I'm always there in the background offering advice or finding an on hand, a local trainer to them that I know and trust. And so I can send them that way as well. So yeah, really, I've got a really nice working relationship.
Yeah. So Cyprus then, I know you've been to Cyprus a couple of times, obviously with Pet Professional Network, PPN, but obviously you've had rescues abroad anyway. So what is it about Cyprus then? Is it just that the dog's there, or what is
Um,
it?
It's honestly, the dogs that you get over there are, because I had worked mostly with Romanian dogs before I went to Cyprus.
Yeah.
And obviously they're all not all, but they're mostly livestock guardian breeds. They're big shepherds. They're all those type of dogs. And when I went to Cyprus, obviously a lot of their dogs are gun dogs. So I'd never really worked with those type of dogs before.
Mm.
And it was just really interesting to see the difference between the dogs from Romania have more trauma around people, and they're more
Yes.
fearful of people and more reactive. Whereas the dogs from Cyprus, it's more separation anxiety and abandonment, and that it's trauma, but it's very different types of trauma. Again, that I'm generalizing, but on a whole, it's very different. It was just really interesting to work on that side of things. And then obviously because I'd met via PPN, I'd met Maria, the most amazing woman in Cyprus who organizes everything. She's a Positive Dog Trainer Academy.
Yeah.
And she's just absolutely fab. And she's obviously shown us around a lot. And then through her, I've met the rescue that I work alongside now. And yeah, it's just brilliant to see them trying to bring all their animal rights up to date and campaigning for things. And it's just really lovely. And yeah, we just clicked immediately. And that'll be me now. I'll be going back every year until they get fed up with me and tell me to stop.
I want to go. It's on my card, my bingo card to go, but unfortunately, I haven't talked the husband into it. So obviously, as you probably know, I've got 7 dogs, and he struggles with me being away for a weekend. So I haven't quite got round, but I'm working on him. But I do want to come out there because I think it would just be an amazing experience.
Brilliant.
And I know what you guys do, but I'm right in thinking that you have brought a couple of dogs home from Cyprus. Not there and then, but
just the one.
oh, it's the one.
I only adopted one, and yeah, we visited.
How can you not adopt them all?
Oh, don't. It's so hard. But we walked into one shelter and she was showing us around, and I was like, through the trees in another pen, I could see these little legs. And I was like, what's that? Well, there are those little legs. And I got everyone to follow me. I said, come and look over here. There's little legs. Let's see. And I found Pascal, or Harley as he was then. And I just fell in love with him immediately. He looked very much like my Romanian dog, but shrunken, like a little teeny tiny version. And I just fell in love immediately. And I spent the whole day at the shelter working with him and doing different things with him. And then I could see families coming in and looking for other dogs, and my heart sank because I was like, I don't want him to be adopted by anyone else. I was like, what do I have to do to adopt him? And she's like, you have to wait another 3 days because he's only been here a little while. So we need to wait until, and just in case someone owns him and turns up. And on midnight of the day, that time limit ran out, I sent her a message going, can I put my adoption form? And my poor husband, who had said no initially to adopting again, I went home and I was like, oh, I think we're fostering another dog. And he was like, is it fostering or adopting?
Found foster.
I hadn't even put in a fostering. He's not immediately applied to adopt him. I'd paid the deposit and everything before I even left the country. It was happening.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's here, and he's my little sidekick now. He comes to work with me. He's brilliant.
It's funny you say that. Our poor husbands, like, I think if they're married to a pet pro, they've got their work cut out.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's just as bad. Sometimes he'll hear me talking about a client and he's just tell them we'll take the dog. And I'm like, you need to stop saying that because I will.
It was interesting you said about the Romanian rescues, if we could just touch on that a little bit, because in my line of work, my dog walking business, we've got a few different Romanian dogs that were rescues, and they've come over. And with the Romanian, it's a bit hit and miss in terms of their
Mm.
issues. And one of the girls that works in, she's been working with a little Romanian dog for a good couple of years now. Just it's taken this long to build up this trust.
Yeah.
And she's not good with men, so that's why she's working with like one of the girls. I only went round there once to meet them initially at the meet and greet, but I didn't realize that Romanians, they have this fear of humans.
Yeah.
And that probably explains a bit about what's been going on with her. Like they've been in with the vets and they're on behavioural meds, and she's been working with her, but there's definitely some trauma there,
Yeah.
and it must be to do something's happened with humans then.
Yeah. So in Romania, they have dog catchers who will go out and they just scoop them up and they drop them off to what is called a kill shelter. And it is exactly what it sounds like. They don't have very long in there. When they're full, they just go through and they kill whatever dogs are in there. If so, to be adopted, they have to be taken from the kill shelter and then brought to a registered shelter. And then obviously then they have all the medical treatment, etc. And then they can be put up for adoption. The kill shelters are awful. They're horrific. And the dogs are very shut down. And it is just, again, I'm generalizing it. It's definitely not everyone, because I know some amazing Romanians who work with the dogs over there. In general, they're just not thought of the way that we think of dogs here. You get a lot of dogs that will be being abused by people, have things thrown at them by children. So a lot of the dogs come over with these fears of kids, men in particular, because most of the dog catchers are men, and most of the kill shelter workers are men. A lot of my Romanians had a real fear of cigarette smoke, because that just triggered this memory of, I'm assuming the people in the shelter smoked quite a bit. And they just had real deep-seated fears. Like our Romanian Shepherd, Sylvie, we've had her probably, I think it's 5 years. It came up in my memories the other day, 5 years. And I would say now she's only just, like in the last year, probably really come into her own of being properly confident. But even then, if I bring her to training, she's great around dogs. She's brilliant. She can read body language really well. She's still very wary of men that come over. So she wouldn't be happy with a man coming over and talking. She would back away, even now. And that's 5 years down the line. With my husband and my older 2 sons and everything, no issues. But yeah, it takes a long time. There's a lot of sort of real deep-seated trauma. And a lot of, depends on where they are in Romania as well, a lot of them are found in the mountains, where there are no people apart from the people that have hurt them. So they've got no sort of good feelings around men, again, because a lot of once they're taken from the kill shelter and into an actual shelter, a lot of the workers are female. So their good memories are all around women. Everything negative, unfortunately,
That's really interesting, because the dog I'm talking about, the client of ours, the owners, they're both female. They're a gay female couple, and obviously she just can't. She doesn't like men.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's really common, unfortunately, and it takes a lot. And then sometimes they get to a point where they can tolerate it, but they're still not really fans of men they don't know. But yeah, it's sad.
it's sad. May I ask then, if it's okay? Obviously, there's a lot of rescues in the UK and lots of dogs in rescues in the UK. What's the reason for working with overseas, or do you work with both?
I work with both. I do work with a lot of UK rescues. So there's an absolutely amazing rescue in Essex called Spirit of the Dog Rescue. And it is absolutely, again, ethically, personality-wise, everything about them is just absolutely top-notch. They've got their own little behaviour team of just volunteer behaviours from all over the UK. And some of the people, I'm way at the bottom of the list there, people in that are fantastic. So I do work with UK rescues. And the reason that I started working with overseas rescues at the very beginning was when I really wanted to start working with dogs. I had young children, and the UK rescues wouldn't allow me to work with them. And I completely understand why.
Yes.
And 10 years ago, I was obviously knew a lot less. And I was like, I'm sure I'll be fine. I'll be absolutely fine. So I started fostering dogs from Spain. And thankfully, we were very lucky. We never had any issues with any of the dogs that we fostered. But I wasn't allowed to work with those dogs. And because at that point as well, I was working full time. So I wasn't allowed to foster, or I wasn't allowed to do anything because I had kids and a full-time job. So
Yeah.
I went to overseas rescue and then just fell in love with the dogs that have that deep-seated trauma. And that's where I fell in love with. And I work with a lot of UK dogs that have the same sort of issues, but
Mm.
that's where sort of my passion is, with the trauma and anxiety side of things.
No, that's fine. And that's great. And the thing is, you've said it yourself, is that the UK rescues, I think a lot of people go to the overseas ones because unfortunately
Yeah.
it's hard for in the
It is.
UK rescues to be able to adopt or foster, make it really
It is. It's really hard. And even like, my most recent foster dog that I was talking about, he was adopted by, it was actually my husband's aunt and uncle who adopted him. But
hard.
they have been looking for a rescue dog for a year now. And they have put in dozens of applications. One that they went and they saw and they had home checks and they weren't a good match. It wasn't the right dog for them. They weren't the right home for that dog. Out of all of the others, I think they had one home check, and all of the rest, they didn't even get a reply. And they are a couple in their 60s. They're both very well educated. They're both retired now. So they've got
Yeah.
loads of time to do things. They want to do stuff with their dog. They wanted to change their lives for a dog, and they couldn't get a UK rescue. They got a dog from overseas. And it's so hard because I see both sides, and there are some unscrupulous overseas rescues as there are UK rescues.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I don't like the sort of rhetoric that you get of overseas dogs are filling our shelters, but they can be. But if you're bringing over dogs from genuine responsible rescues, they would never end up in a UK shelter at all because they would have full rescue backup. But that's a whole rant for another day.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So I can imagine there are some like tricky, dodgy overseas ones, but then there are some dodgy UK ones as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
And I've heard some horror stories, unfortunately. But my friends like do some fostering, and a lot of them, they are overseas rescues. And they had one, and she was a failed foster within a week, so they adopted her. But then ever since, they've been fostering these dogs and whatever, and they've had them for quite a while. But the women that runs the rescue kind of guilt trips them into keeping them keep fostering,
Yeah.
and they feel like they can't say no.
It's hard to say no. It is hard. And especially if someone's going, oh, you're a really good fosterer. They'd thrive with you. I've had that recently. This dog would really thrive with you. And I'm like, they would, but I don't always, I have to take time out. Like we were saying earlier with our purple students, he does shift work. So if we foster, it's him that puts a lot of the work in because I'm out 5-6 days a week and he's at home at the majority of the time.
Yeah.
It's not fair for me to go, yeah, I really want to foster because I really want to work with this dog. And then actually I'm like, here you go, Lee, got another dog for you to look after. And it's hard, but sometimes you have to say no. You have to. And I gave this lecture to one of my clients the other day. I was like, you can't fill from an empty cup.
Yeah, I'm big on that.
Yeah. If you don't look after yourself, you can look after no one. And
Exactly.
again, if anyone that knows me is listening to this, they're going to be saying I'm a massive hypocrite. I am a massive hypocrite. However, it is still true.
Oh no, I know what you mean. Let's bring it back round to like the compassion fatigue then and the emotional toll. So I'm assuming that obviously that comes from helping the adopters, the fosterers, the charity people themselves, and then the dogs. So there's a lot of spinning plates there and a lot of people that are pulling at that,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah, it is. When I go on to Facebook Messenger, I will have at least 10 chats that will have messages in it.
Really?
Guaranteed. There'll be one that is just for friends, and then everything else will be like rescues. People either updating about their dogs, or people asking, oh, what does this mean? Or we've been to the vet and they've said this, what do you think? And it's so hard because I'm like, I'm not a vet. I don't know. And I especially can't tell just from a couple of texts. And it's very hard, to keep it all balanced. It is like spinning plates. Yeah.
So does that compassion fatigue come from them wanting to help everyone, not being able to say no, and then obviously comes back to boundaries again?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all comes down to boundaries because I do try to say I can only take on a certain amount of dogs at a time. I could only work with these amount of people. And I do with the rescue that I work with, they only bring over a handful of dogs themselves. But because the people that run that rescue also arrange transport for all the other dogs from Cyprus. They know of all. So from Cyprus, every 5 weeks, there is a flight that comes over with about 300 to 400 dogs
Really?
on it. Yeah. And it's not just that flight, but there's other flights that they organize this one. So it's a non-passenger, it's like a freight
Right.
cargo flight. Is that what you call it? And
Yeah.
it's all just all animals.
Really? I had no
Yeah.
idea.
And then they fly in to Netherlands, and then on Netherlands, then they're put into buses, and then they're dropped off here, there, and everywhere on their way over. So there's hundreds and hundreds of dogs every month. The ones that come to the UK, then obviously there's the handful that I'm dealing with because they're from that specific rescue. Obviously, a lot of the shelters then that I visit, and I make friends with them, and they'll drop me a message going, oh, we've got this dog at the minute. So we've tried recently to set up a network. So there's a few of us now, and we've taken like a shelter each. So we'll go, okay, you've got these dogs coming over, brilliant. This trainer is working with these, and then this trainer is working with these ones to split it up. But even with that, I felt it was so hard to let go because I was like, she's doing it right. And I'm not going to say that I know everything about rescue dogs. I don't. So there's no one that does, but I still struggled with just going, okay, you take these ones. When I'm back going, oh, they're all right.
Yeah.
Hard.
That's a lot pulling at the heartstrings as well, isn't it? Because like you say, you just want to help them more, but there's only one of you.
Yeah, exactly. I physically can't do it.
Well, you can't spread yourself too thin, really. It comes back to that whole well-being and pouring from an empty cup.
Definitely.
It's hard to, like you say, it's hard to get a balance and prioritize it. Wow. I just think it's just opened my eyes so much because I didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with rescue dogs, I've trained rescue dog, we walk, whatever, but there's just so much involved. And I didn't know about this 2-camp thing either, because obviously, as we know, as dog trainers, as behaviorists, there's obviously the camps there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know there was such a thing in the world of rescue, and that's a shame.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. There's a
Yeah. You just think, like you say, if everyone could just work together and there was just the one goal of helping the dogs.
Yeah, life a lot easier for everybody. And if they worked together as well, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of rescues who do work together. There are a lot of rescues who are like, no, we can't deal with that. We wouldn't do it that way. We would do it this way, and our way is the best way. And then another rescue like, actually, no, we think this, and you're just like, for goodness sake, you can do it 2 ways. It's fine. You're both right. But sometimes it's just best to, like in the trainer world, just to leave that side to do their thing and on the bits that you can help with.
Yeah, exactly. Because we all know it's so hard. Wow, it's so easy to get drawn into these things.
Yes.
And, you've just sometimes just got to stay in your lane, keep your head down. You can only do what you do. It will make a ripple effect and whatever you'll have. But when you see it, it's hard to switch it off as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we are really compassionate people. And it's funny because, like, I spoke to Jay Gurdon about imposter syndrome, and I talk a lot in my own mentoring work about obviously well-being. But as pet professionals, myself personally, until I became a dog trainer, I hadn't experienced imposter syndrome until I became a dog trainer. And all of my corporate career, I did really well in my corporate career. And then when I became a dog trainer, that's when I experienced imposter syndrome. And I think a little bit to this day, it's probably why I don't do so much dog training anymore, because I only help our existing walking clients. I don't take on new cases, but I think it comes back down to that imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
And then before I became a pet professional, I didn't suffer compassion fatigue either. And I didn't struggle with boundary. And I think a lot of the boundary stuff comes down to being a business owner.
Yeah.
So obviously we are spinning a lot of plates again. But all these different feelings, emotions, things I'd never even heard of, suddenly you're experiencing. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely. And I find social media can really feed into that as well, because obviously I've come off a lot of rescue pages because I was just seeing post after post of horrific things. And I was just like, I can't just keep looking at it all the time. And it's not a case of burying my head in the sand, but I was making myself feel ill by constantly reading it. But even with the imposter syndrome and the compassion side of it, it's taking on the comments that you even get online. Like I've had fake reviews because I did a post
I remember
how,
seeing this.
about how to use a slip lead properly. It's not a training tool. And this guy left me this. I was like, I don't even know who you are. I've never heard of you before. He's just some random person who decided
Wow.
he would try and ruin my business by leaving a review. Thankfully, all my clients commented going, you clearly don't know Sam at all. But
Uh,
it was horrible. And
It
like
is when you're going through it.
yeah, like one of my, an amazing colleague of mine and a really good friend, she has an absolutely fantastic social media and following. Pull Forward Dog Training, if you want to go and follow her, Shannon is amazing. And she does some absolutely fantastic videos. And over this last week, the comments that she has had, and all she was doing at one point was a very short video of scatter feeding her Labradors to get their mind going in the morning.
Bet that was wrong.
That was it. The comments she got, they criticized her looks, her weight, what she was doing. Her dogs were too underweight. She was overweight. She was feeding.
Oh my
They
word.
were licking slugs. They were eating this. And you were just like, oh my goodness, it's just scatter feeding. Come on. But she's taking it really well. But when you're reading through it, and people don't there's a person at the end of that.
Exactly.
And
Do
they
some
just don't
damage.
seem to realize when they're saying things, there is a person there. And I think in rescue as well, you get a lot of that. You haven't taken on this dog. You're not doing. You're like, no, because there's a person with a family and a life and a job and everything else at the end of it, and you can't be everything. But
Mm.
yeah, I think social media really exaggerates or that feeling. It's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible, and you have to create like a bit of a thick skin. I'm a very sensitive person. Andrew Howe's made me realize that's one of my superpowers now. So there's no point trying to fight.
Yeah.
But you have to create a bit of what am I saying? A thick skin. You have to put a bit of a barrier up. Andrew's very good at also recommending that you curate your feed. So like you said, you've left a lot of groups. And when I was chatting to Jay about imposter syndrome, she said that's a very good point about creating your feed, because then you only see
What you
what
want.
you want to see. I know it's all going on, but yeah, it's your profile. So create it to how, because it can affect your mental health.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we are people that we're putting ourselves out there into the public domain, aren't we? We're creating these profiles, so we are probably going to get a bit of a bit of
Yeah.
stick, a bit of slack for that. But it is difficult. But I think just as we start wrapping this up, in terms of compassion fatigue, I didn't realize it was, like I say, so prevalent in the rescue world, and I can understand why it is. And obviously, you've helped with that more today. But I just think, as pet professionals in general, it's because we care
Yeah.
so much, don't we? Like,
Yeah.
I'm an empath. I'm an empathetic person. I care. I think, as all pet pros, we get into this industry because we do care, and I think
Yeah.
that's then what brings in the compassion fatigue and all the other crap we have
Definitely.
to deal with.
It is because we want to be able to help everyone, but
Yeah,
you just can't.
yeah. And you just care so much about the dog and the human, and it's a lot to take on. Yeah. And not everyone can do it. But all right. So for anyone that's listening and quietly thinking, gosh, this is affecting me, compassion fatigue. Yeah, I can completely relate to what Sam's saying here. What's one gentle step that they could take today to start protecting their well-being, easing the load of compassion fatigue? I think we've touched on it a bit there, but is there anything else that stands out for you that you could share?
I think definitely boundaries. You have to, and turn it off your phone, turn it upside down, whatever you have to do so you don't see it light up, so that you have evenings just at one evening. If you're struggling, just do one evening where it's just you and your family, or just you and your dog, and a glass of wine and a face mask, whatever it is that you need to just breathe for a bit and try not to think of it, or maybe listen to an audiobook that is not about dogs. Because I started listening to audiobooks, and then I started listening to audiobooks about dogs. And I was like, this is not stepping away. So find something else that's not dog related or animal related and listen to that, or just do something, just like one thing just for you and for
Yeah.
nobody else.
I'm big on that. I say have a mindful dog walk without the dog. So it's just you. Don't take the phone. Just a cuppa
Yeah.
outside, 10 minutes. Just shutting yourself off on.
Yeah, definitely. I meditate a lot as well, and it does help. You
Good.
still get the chatter in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
thinking things through, but you just have to acknowledge it, push it away, and just
Yeah.
breathe for a little bit.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of, you may know, I've been doing a lot of work on my physical and mental health this year, and I do meditating now, and I do daily affirmations, and
Yeah,
it all helps, doesn't
it does. It really does make a difference.
it? Well, Sam, where could our listeners find out more about you and your work, please?
So I'm on all of the socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm also co-founder of the RDCN, so the Rescue Dog Care Network. So there's a few of us there who,
Glad you mentioned that.
yeah, we post different advice for people who work in rescue, people who've got rescues, whether it's UK or abroad, anything. We've got loads of info on there, and it's just a really friendly, nice space. There's no drama.
Brilliant. What I'll do is I'll put all your links in the show notes
Thank you.
anyway. But Sam, thank you so much for joining me on the Pet Business Wellbeing podcast today. I've absolutely loved chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Pet Business Wellbeing podcast. If you enjoyed today's chat, I'd love if you could share it with a friend, subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes, and please consider leaving a review. It really helps me to reach more pet professionals that need this kind of support. Until next time, take care of yourself, look after your well-being, and remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about building a business you actually enjoy being in. Bye for now.